Hi, and welcome to the Ask Dr. Angela podcast with everyone's favorite OBGYN, Dr. Angela Jones. Have you ever been too embarrassed or shy to ask your own doctor about your, girl parts? Well, you've come to the right place to get straight answers. Feel free to ask Dr. Angela anything women's health related. Obstetrics and gynecology? She keeps it real. Pregnancy? She's been there, done that. Menopause? She'll get you through. Young or old, Dr. Angela's got you covered, girl. Now here's Dr. Angela.
What's good, people? This is Dr. Angela, everyone's favorite OBGYN, and I would like to welcome you to episode 317 of the Ask Dr. Angela podcast. Hopefully everyone's doing well. Hopefully everyone has had a great weekend. I frankly am a bit tired. I was on call this past weekend and I worked. I was pretty busy. Being on call, things kind of come in waves. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm in the hospital the entire time, but sometimes when I'm there, it's kind of hard to get out. So today's podcast, I am specifically going to address fetal kit counts and the importance of fetal kit counts. Fetal kit counts, it's a form of what we call antepartum fetal surveillance. It's a cheap, non-expensive way to do it because it doesn't require any special equipment. You can do it at home, at work, wherever you are. It's just mom's perception of fetal movement. I typically don't recommend fetal kit counts until week 28 and beyond. So once moms hit the 28th week of pregnancy, I typically recommend daily fetal kit counts. Now, there are numerous protocols as to, how we do fetal kit counts. I usually recommend doing a count of, at least 10 movements over the course of 2 hours. That's actually pretty easy. Most babies meet that criteria within a matter of minutes. But my typical protocol for fetal kit counts is just mom perceiving 10 movements over the course of 10 hours. This is typically considered to be what we call reassuring. Notice decreased fetal perception by the mom may or may not precede fetal death, in some cases by several days. And that's why it's really important to not dismiss it. I tell my moms all the time, if baby for some reason is not meeting fetal kit count requirements, you have got to call for that. Please don't say, oh, my appointment's tomorrow. I'll just wait until tomorrow because I'm going into the office anyway. You have got to call immediately because further surveillance needs to then be done. We need to further assess the fetus or the baby just to make sure that everything is okay. Now, interestingly enough, I had a recent case where, a mom called me and she's like, Dr. Angela, the baby's just not quite moving like normal. And sure enough, whenever you tell me that, my next recommendation is always going to be, we need to further evaluate the situation. So if I'm in the office, I might instruct you to come to the office. If it's after hours, I certainly will recommend that you go to the hospital for further fetal assessment. Certainly in this instance, and this doesn't happen very often, but in this particular circumstance, the next type of fetal assessment that was done was something called a non-stress test. And that's typically where, we hook you up to 2 monitors. One is to look at baby's heart rate. The other one looks at uterine activity. We typically leave you on for at least 20 to 30 minutes, and it's a good way for us to, again, document that fetal is well. This particular circumstance where the mom had called and said, I'm not really feeling the baby move, we did further fetal assessment, and lo and behold, I ended up delivering that mom pretty expeditiously. Actually, it ended up being an emergency C-section. And so again, this doesn't happen in all circumstances, but I wanted to share this with you so that you understand the importance of not just ignoring that sixth sense that moms, I do believe, have. If something doesn't quite feel right, please call. Please let your OBGYN know. If baby's not moving quite as often as baby typically does, please call. I would always prefer to err on the side of sending you into the hospital for further evaluation. Yes, it's annoying. Nobody likes to get up and drive to the hospital at some, God forbid, an hour of the night or morning. But, this is about baby and making sure that everything with baby is well. And certainly while, again, all decreased perceived fetal movement doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything going on with the baby. I mean, babies do have sleep cycles where they rest. It's always, again, better to err on the side of caution. The situation that I shared with you all, mom and baby both ended up doing fantastic, but I certainly was really thrilled that she came in, because had she not come in, I'm not sure that the outcome would have been as favorable. So the take home is always do your fetal kit count, specifically after the 28-week mark. And if there is any question of baby's well-being, please make sure that you notify your OBGYN so that further steps can be taken to make sure that everything is well, not only with mom, but specifically with baby. Thank you so much for tuning into today's podcast. Just felt the need to really kind of reshare that topic. I know I've spoken on fetal kit counts before in the past, but with my recent course of events and experiences, I just wanted to kind of bring that one back to the forefront. Thank you so much for tuning into today's podcast. For those of you that are new to the Ask Dr. Angela podcast, you can follow me and hit me up at www.askdrangela.com. That's ASKDRANGELA.com. There you can sign up for my YouTube channel, my podcast. You can sign up for my weekly blog post. You can also follow me on all of my social media channels. That's going to be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Thank you again so much for all of your continued support. It's just really good to be back. In closing, I would like to leave you with a quote from one of my favorite books, Life's Little Instruction Book. And today's thought says, thought number 292, don't burn bridges. You'll be surprised how many times you have to cross the same river. That's an interesting thought. So until next time, thank you so much for tuning into today's podcast. I cannot wait to reconnect on episode 318 of the Ask Dr. Angela podcast. Until we meet again, choose happiness.
Thank you for listening to the Ask Dr. Angela podcast. For more information on women's health and the show notes for this episode, please visit Dr. Angela at www.askdrangela.com. While you're there, don't forget to leave your own message for Dr. Angela. See you soon! All of the information provided and discussed in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and should not take the place of consulting a physician. This podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease or illness and does not and should not replace treatment from a medical professional.